Hey, you guys, it's Miss Arneson. I hope you all had a lovely break for Thanksgiving. I know I sure did. I did not work on the break and I really enjoyed taking some time off. Um, I'm sitting here in my kitchen and I'm noticing that my sunglasses are a little bit darkened because they react to UV light. And that's just one of the reasons that you even need to wear sunscreen when you're indoors, just so you guys know. But I'm going to talk to you because I was grading the evaluating resources assignment that I gave you guys, and there was one of you who did a really good job, so you won't have to redo this assignment. But the rest of you all were pretty confused, and I'm not really surprised because this is a hard thing to do. Like, it's hard for adults even. So what I want to do is look at the sources of information that you guys were supposed to look at and then evaluate. There were a couple of you who missed this last question, explain the evidence that you found. So if you did, you really need to go back and answer those because that's like kind of the big purpose of this assignment. And so I couldn't give you a very good score because I didn't have that information. So, this first piece of information is from the Heartland Institute. So, one of the things about the CRAP test is that it tells you to look at the authority of the person who's making it. And one of the things that you can do when you're unsure, because like this sounds really nice, the Heartland Institute. One of the things that you can do when you find a new source and you're thinking about using it is Google that source. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just Google Heartland Institute and see what comes up, and then we'll be able to find out a little bit of information. So you can't always trust what comes to the top of Google because a lot of times it's like totally wrong. But let's see what it says, okay? So it says it was founded in 1984 by David Patton. If we wanted to, we could look more about this guy because there's a hyperlink here. This information comes from Wikipedia. It says it's an American conservative and libertarian public policy think tank. So you might not know what a think tank is, but think tanks are groups of people that come up with policies. So a lot of times the people who are in the House of Representatives and the Senate making bills, they're not really coming up with the policies themselves. They're getting the policy ideas from what are called think tanks, and there's liberal and conservative think tanks. Right away though, this one, the Heartland Institute, it's letting us know that it's conservative or libertarian. So, really honestly, once you find out that something is from a think tank, you can pretty much bet that it's going to be biased. Because biased is when you take information, a fact, and you take that fact and you interpret it. You say, well, this means that we should do this or we should do this. So if we go back to the actual website, it says How Al Gore Built the Global Warming Fraud. This is from 2018. It gives us a little bit of information about these authors. We can click on them and go check them out. And then it says Oh, fraud, and changed the alarmism from global cooling to global warming and now climate change. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but Al Gore was one of the vice presidents of the United States of America. He was George Clinton. Okay, I'm sorry. He was Clinton's vice president, and he actually ran against George Bush and he won the popular vote against George Bush, but he didn't win the electoral vote. So he never became president, but he was very close to becoming president. And this basically is talking about how Al Gore is making up this information about climate change, and he changes his story, and that we can't believe him because all he's trying to do is make us lose jobs in America. And basically, when anybody's like blaming somebody for us losing jobs, they're not going to be a good source. So this, even though you might not have known of the Heartland Institute until today, if you Google it, you'll find out that it's a conservative think tank. There's also liberal think tanks, and basically they're coming up with policies that are about what we should do based on their interpretation of the facts. So this Heartland Institute is like, no, global warming isn't a big problem. We don't really have to pay attention to it. Okay, let's look at the Al Gore one. on the other hand. Okay, so the Heartland Institute, a lot of times they have just wrong information. We didn't fact check any particular things in this site, but I'll show you in a second another source from them. Okay, so the next source you're supposed to look at, and I told you both of these were biased. So here is Al Gore, and Al Gore is the person who is the subject of the Heartland Institute's article, but he is also he's a climate change advocate. So like basically that is what he is doing. And this is showing why he thinks it's so important for us to act on climate change. And he even says that we should have optimism about the future. So yes, humans have created these conditions on Earth, but it's our responsibility to respond to it. And he believes that we will, or at least that's what he says publicly. If you watch this video, he actually does give a lot of facts. So Ed conferences usually do have like screening for their people. They do have to have authority on what they're going to talk about. And in the case of Al Gore, he is very good at citing facts. He does exaggerate what those facts mean in some cases, but for the most part, the information that he's giving you is correct. The reason it's biased and not just objective, not just giving us information about the facts, is because he takes those facts and he says, listen, these facts are telling us that we are going to make our planet unlivable for ourselves. So we need to pay attention to that and we need to do something about it. And his call to action, or the reasons he thinks we should do something about it, are why this is biased. So the Heartland Institute article did have some untruths, like fake news stuff that was absolutely false. The Al Gore thing, it probably has, I didn't like criticize every single word, but generally he does use climate information and science when he's talking about things. And and so his site is biased, or this particular website is biased because of his beliefs about what we should do about climate change. So climate change is well established as scientific. It's observable. You can collect data on it. But what we should do about climate change, the Heartland Institute argues we should basically ignore it. Al Gore argues that we should do something about it, and that's what makes those sources biased, although the Heartland Institute also just spreads falsehoods, like just absolutely wrong information. Okay, sources 1 and 2, I told you they were biased and you kind of had to figure them out. These next sources, your answers were kind of all over the place. So this is, if we go to the first one, it's a NASA article on one of their websites, and it is from a scientific study. So it even cites the study. NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center is a well-known science like institution in the United States. They do a lot of work for science. This is from NASA. It's from NASA's Global Climate Change Vital Signs of the Planet series. And so this, I mean, automatically before you start reading it, it should already be showing you that this is a credible source and that you can believe it. So sometimes when something is from a credible source like NASA, or we will look at some news sources, and there's some more credible news sources like NPR or the Associated Press, sometimes they have opinion pieces based on people who work there, like what the reporters think. But for the most part, those sites are going to be factual and based on factual information. If we read this article, it's going to tell us where they got the information. I know some people felt like the Heartland Institute, they got their information from the NIPCC, I think it's what it's called, but we'll look that up in a second. So this one's doing the Climate Adaptation Science Investigators Working Group. So if you looked that up, which I would just copy and paste it because I'm not going to remember all of that. Okay, we can find out what is this. Okay, so what is this thing? Climate Adaptation Scientific Investigator. So this is this is coming up with scholarly journals, other government websites, and it's not saying that it's a think tank, it's not saying that it's an organization that is private. These are going to be government organizations. And so if we click on something that is talking about this, let's do this one. Oh, this is actually the article that we are looking at right now. So it comes up with that. This is a journal website. And remember, we found out that peer-reviewed journals are from scientist, it's like a scientist magazine. Of course, this one tells us the link is not working, so that's a sign, that's a slash against it. But I'm also telling you that I know that this is a good resource for science information. This is the PDF for the entire research report. And so you could download it. Of course, you don't always want to be clicking on download things, but I would have to join for free, and I'm not going to join for free because I don't really want to do that right now. But it has the places like where it's showing you on the map what's going to get flooded with the water rise in the ocean because of glaciers melting, and also because water just gets bigger when it's warmer, so the volume increases. Okay, so that's going to be a scientific source. It would be reliable. If you were trying to make a decision about something scientific, use that source. But this one, I actually picked this because this got sent to me in the mail one day. This is when we were working at the old school building before we had the new one built. And it got sent to me, and I opened it up and I was like, why scientists disagree about global warming? And I thought, what? Scientists don't disagree about global warming? Like, I've known that for a long time. I just graduated from college with a geography degree. This isn't true. So I automatically knew that it was fake. But as I started looking at it more, you can find out that this is actually from the Heartland Institute. So they're the ones who worked on publishing this. Now, a lot of you cited that it's because of this NIPCC report that makes it credible, but you need to look up what you're saying is credible, because if you do NIPCC, okay, so if we look up what is this, okay, it is the non-governmental panel on, international panel on climate change. And their whole purpose of existing is to make people have doubt about climate change's impacts and causes. The Heartland Institute, here's something from whistleblower.org. It just says the Heartland Institute and its NIPCC report fail the credibility test. So if you went ahead and you looked up these scientists that were in this article or in this book, you would find that a lot of those scientists are not considered credible and are not doing research that passes the tests for getting in academic journals. So since they can't get in academic journals, they're publishing their own book, because if you have enough money to pay, you can publish your own book. And they are a conservative think tank, so people donate money to them to come up with policies. Now, this IPCC, if we go to another search, ICP, or is it ICCP? I always forget it. Okay, so, oh yeah, see, that's not it. Okay, the Intergovernmental, so it's CC, Panel on Climate Change. This is actually the scientific source, but all they did was put an N in front of it so that if you're not paying attention, you'll really fall for their propaganda, because they're the non-governmental one. This is actually the governmental one. And this is an important conference, and they recently told us that if we do not keep climate change below a certain level, that we will really face consequences that are going to make it very uncomfortable for humans and make our lives basically miserable. So I just wanted to show you those things because I think you guys are at a really good starting point for looking things up, but you're not the only one that falls for this, okay, you guys? My own dad at Thanksgiving was telling me all kinds of conspiracy theories. My mom and my little brother Christopher and Mr. Arneson and I were all arguing against him. My daughter stayed out of it because she is smart, and so she knows that arguing with my dad is pointless. But the rest of us were like, no, Dad, that's conspiracy theory. So even my dad, who's an engineer, has fallen for stuff like this. So if it's easy for you to fall for it, I don't want you to be hard on yourself. I just want you to get smarter for next time. All right, have a good day.